Today on Documentify TV, we are exploring a recent discovery about Vikings and their search for ivory. New research suggests these ancient seafarers went to incredible lengths to find walrus tusks, traveling to the farthest reaches of Greenland. Scientists looked at 31 ivory objects from museums across Europe. They used DNA to figure out where the ivory came from. Surprisingly, almost half of these items were traced to walruses living in northwest Greenland and Arctic Canada. This area is much farther north than where the Vikings usually lived in Greenland. Peter Jordan, an archaeologist, was amazed by this finding. He said, "We had no idea they were getting ivory from such a huge area." This discovery raises many questions about how the Vikings organized these long trips from their small communities in Greenland. These journeys weren't easy. Greer Jarrett, another archaeologist, explains that the Vikings had a very short time to make these trips. They could only sail when the sea wasn't frozen, giving them about 10 weeks to travel, hunt, and return home. It took about a month just to reach the top of Greenland. The Viking Age is typically considered to have started around 793 AD with the raid on Lindisfarne in England, and ended around 1066 AD with the Norman conquest of England. However, Viking exploration and settlement in Greenland began later, around 985 AD, when Eric the Red led the first Norse settlement on the island. Interestingly, the Vikings might not have been alone in hunting walruses in this area. The Thule Inuit and their ancestors, the Inuit, also known as the Dorset culture, were also in this region around the same time. The Dorset culture existed from about 500 BC to 1500 AD, while the Thule people arrived in the region around 1000 AD. Morten Tanger Olsen, a scientist studying this, thinks it's very likely that these different groups met and maybe even traded with each other. This is a big deal because it could be one of the first times people from different parts of the world met after humans first spread across the planet. Emily Ruiz-Puerta, another researcher, points out that this shows the Vikings weren't just farmers. They were also clever traders who went on long trips to find valuable things like ivory. The Vikings and the Inuit had different ways of hunting walruses. Vikings used boats made of wooden planks and probably caught walruses on land using spears with iron tips. The Inuit were expert hunters who used special harpoons to catch walruses from small boats covered in animal skins. Why did the Vikings go to so much trouble for ivory? In medieval Europe, ivory was very valuable. People used it to make important objects, especially for religious purposes. The demand for ivory in Europe increased significantly during the Viking Age, particularly from the 9th to the 11th centuries AD. This period saw a rise in the creation of religious artifacts and luxury items using walrus ivory. The Vikings may have kept going further north to find walruses because they had hunted too many in other places like Iceland and southern Greenland. In Iceland, the walrus population declined rapidly after Norse settlement began around 870 AD. A similar pattern may have occurred in southern Greenland after the Norse arrived in 985 AD. Some researchers think this early ivory trade might have been one of the first steps towards what we now call globalization. It shows how the desire for valuable items can make people travel very far and change the natural world. The Norse Greenland settlements lasted for nearly 500 years, from about 985 AD to the mid-15th century AD, and during this time, the walrus ivory trade played a crucial role in their economy. Now, let's consider what this all means. This discovery changes how we think about Vikings. They weren't just raiders and settlers, they were also skilled traders who braved dangerous journeys for valuable goods. It also reminds us that different cultures have been interacting and influencing each other for a very long time. The potential contact between Vikings and indigenous North Americans is particularly intriguing. While there's clear evidence of Norse presence in North America at Lons aux Meadows in Newfoundland, dating to around 1000 AD, the possibility of more northerly contacts opens up new avenues for research. If the Norse were indeed traveling to northwest Greenland, they may have encountered the Dorset people or the newly arrived Thule Inuit. However, we should also think about the downsides of this trade. The Vikings may have hunted so many walruses that it caused problems for the animal populations and eventually for themselves. This overexploitation might have contributed to the decline of Norse settlements in Greenland, which were abandoned by the mid-15th century AD. This is similar to how some businesses today use up natural resources too quickly. It's important to remember that this story isn't just about the Vikings. We need to learn more about how the Inuit people were involved and how these interactions affected them. The Thule Inuit, who arrived in Greenland around 1000 AD, had sophisticated hunting techniques and a deep understanding of Arctic ecosystems. Their perspective on these interactions and the walrus hunt could provide valuable insights into this period of history. The ivory trade also tells us about the complex economic networks of the medieval world. Walrus ivory from Greenland made its way to markets in Europe, where it was highly prized. This trade connected the far reaches of the North Atlantic to the centers of medieval European power and religion. Ivory from Greenland has been found in artifacts from England, Germany, and as far away as the Middle East, showing the extensive reach of this trade network. There's still a lot we don't know, and scientists are excited to do more research to fill in the gaps in our understanding. Future studies might involve more extensive DNA analysis of ivory artifacts, archaeological excavations in northern Greenland, and collaborations with Inuit communities to incorporate their traditional knowledge and oral histories. That's it for today, folks. See you next time, right here on Documentify TV.